Hey guys, welcome back. It's been a second since I've been able to talk to you, but here we are. Since all 12 of you voted that I should show time lapses of my builds from here on out, I decided I'd go ahead and try my hand at it with the world's fastest accelerating launch coaster. But then I realized that I had already built max force, so I decided instead that I'd try to build stealth. So here I am, just loading in that template that I showed you how to create from No Limits a while ago, and I'm just going to adjust the height here to get it close to what it is in real life, and then I'm going to start building the launch track, which basically gives me a ground to work on and anchor it to the actual build plate that you see. Yeah, and so when building these models, I look at a ton of reference images and try and get them as close as possible. I really did go all out on this model in terms of building the station as detailed as I can, and you'll see that later on in the video. But you did see me raise the height of the entire build, and now I'm changing the color as I go to match Stealth's actual color scheme. When dealing with smaller models such as Stealth, it is hard to get the banking super smooth, and I try to follow that template from No Limits as closely as possible. And when I do that with a smaller model such as Stealth, there are going to be some jagged edges per se when banking, so from afar it'll look great, but once you zoom in, let's just say the ride wouldn't be exactly smooth. You can kind of see what I'm talking about as this top hat gets built. The curves obviously aren't conforming to that shape of the top hat completely 100%, as Legos are confined to their straight shape and I can't bend them across that line. So I get it as close as I can, and that works. And now as we pull up out of that top hat in the banking, I finally get to reset it to 180 degrees, and you just see me messing around with the colors and getting them all lined up as close as I possibly can with the other side, and then it's pretty much just a straight shot. But you'll see later on I did have some trouble getting it perfectly in line, and I had to readjust it a few more times. Once I got the pieces aligned, I was able to completely finish the airtime hill and get this turn squared away. And as I was saying earlier, sometimes close enough is good enough, especially on these tighter turns where it's hard to follow that radius perfectly, but sometimes getting it close enough is what's best. So yeah, I just finished up this turn, had to fix a few rotations there at the end, and yeah, I kind of did cheat there at the end just to make sure everything fit together seamlessly. But as I finished that layout, it is now time for the most tedious part about building these layouts, and that of course is the supports. The supports for the launch track were fairly easy. I just copy pasted these all the way down, and then use that same principle for some of the ones going up that first incline. The top hat supports were really satisfying to build, and supports like those are really hard to get right, but in the end, if you do it right, it really turns out well. And then I actually forgot that the top hat supports have a few different colors on them, so you'll see me go back and change them to dark blue, and then I use that lightsaber hilt to transition between the blue and the white. A technique you might see me use throughout a few times in this video is using a 1x plate to get the supporting support, if you will, perfectly in line with the middle support that it's connecting to. Right here you can see me use that same technique as those supports that jut out connect to the middle support that then connects to the track. The way I build my supports, I have that 1x1 round clip that connects to the track, but the way I build the supports, I have to make sure that each one of those clips are perfectly horizontal or parallel with the ground, depending on which way I build the supports. So you saw me there on the top hat utilize that for one of the supports, and then I almost cheated on these supports, but then I realized I actually have a piece for that makes it buildable in real life. Here I'm using that 1x plate technique again to make sure that secondary support lines up perfectly, and I just copy pasted those supports. And then for the back half of these supports, I just used the same ones from the launch track and then copy pasted them again for the ending of the airtime hill, but then modified them slightly so that they were the correct height. So this station was really fun to build, but I actually had a hard time building it to start, and then my program actually crashed there, so I had to restart it. Luckily I was able to, I'd saved the file before I got started, but I went into No Limits and I grabbed a reference image so I can see how big the station was actually, how big it really needed to be. So I was able to get it fairly close to what the No Limits recreation had the station set as. So after I did that, I just built kind of like the base, or like the top of where the station is, and kind of detailed it from there. Here I'm just putting in some lights that I did later modify. I'll tell you why once we get there, but really building this station was a whole lot of fun, and I really enjoyed putting in tiny details that you wouldn't really be able to see in renders, so I'm glad I'm doing these time lapses now. After I changed the color of the black top of the station, I decided to go ahead and build the sides so it looked like I was dealing with actually a full station instead of just the top. So that's what I'm doing here, just making sure I get that outside with that facade looking as close to real life as I can. Like I said, I use tons of reference images, and sometimes Lego colors aren't perfectly accurate, but I do try and get them as close as I can. One struggle I did have with the station was trying to find good reference images for like the buildings on top, such as the operator's booth, which I did have to go back and modify, same reason as the lights there. I tried to get these buildings as close as I could with the very few reference images that I actually had. I couldn't find a lot on Google, which was surprising because this is a popular coaster, especially at Thorpe Park and in the UK. So I was kind of shocked to see that there weren't many pictures of the operator's booth and the other building that's on there. I forget what it's called, but it definitely seemed important. Here I started to build that other building that's on the launch track that I think separates the actual queue line and the exits. And I realized I had the base wrong, so I redid it with that checkered pattern to fit that stealth and racing theme that they have going on over there at Thorpe Park. So I tried to make this as detailed as possible without making it look like just a box. And so here I'm actually redoing the lights and the buildings. Like I said, I had actually loaded the model into No Limits to see how it fit, and I realized that the trains were a little big, or actually the buildings were small compared to the trains that were on the track. They were perfectly scaled to the actual layout, but the station objects I had were just not accurate. So yeah, once I fixed that, the model was complete. And so now I will give you the opportunity to view this POV. It turned out really well, so I hope you enjoy.
Place your heads back, face forwards. 3, 2, 1, go! Go!